Hey, thank you so much for watching, listening. Of course, I want you to subscribe. I have no idea why you wouldn't subscribe to this channel, just for the jokes. Okay, not really, but let's get the joke over with. So, how do crazy people walk through a forest? They take the psychopath. I know. But here's the deal. We got the joke over with, so now we're starting a new series, and this is a series called Easter in the Middle. We're coming into the Easter season, Holy Week, all those things, and celebrating Jesus coming into Jerusalem, his death, resurrection. But I want to talk for a quick moment today on this series related to preparing to party. Because next Sunday, or this Sunday, is Palm Sunday. And it's kind of like the woo party time, right? Jesus does the triumphant entry into Jerusalem and everybody's totally stoked. Hosanna, blessed is you, comes in the name of the Lord. I mean, it is a party scene. Everybody's like throwing down palm branches in their coats so he can come through riding on a donkey. I mean, it's a huge, huge celebration. But it's interesting because the same day that he does all of this triumphant entry, immediately upon entering Jerusalem, he goes to the temple, and instead of celebrating in the temple, he overthrows all of the tables, and he makes a whip and drives out all the money changers. So it's this weird, like, wait a second, we're having a party, and now he's doing something that's very unconventional, like unexpected. Not traditional. And I want to just point this out to you because I think sometimes we get in the mindset that Jesus kind of fits and does what we want him to do, and meets our expectations, and he conforms to what we want. But the reality is Jesus doesn't. And even before Jesus came into Jerusalem, he told his disciples multiple times, he said in Mark 9:31, he said, the Son of Man, that was himself, is to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after he's been killed, he'll raise from the dead in 3 days. So the disciples heard this, and he said this more than once, but I would venture to say that's not what they wanted to hear. And so consequently, they didn't understand. That you see this often. They didn't understand what he was saying. I think part of why they didn't understand is because that's not what they wanted to hear. And I think we have to be careful because sometimes what we hear from Jesus isn't always, number one, what we want. Number two, we don't understand. And number three, it doesn't square with what we expect. And so with Jesus, let's be really mindful. What is our expectation? What is our thinking? And when we hear and see things like Jesus says to us, love your neighbor, do good to those who hate you. You know, there's a whole lot of Christians mentality that says, you know, you need to stand up for righteousness. You need to not roll over, you know, and those are all good things. But I want us to be careful that at the end of the day, Jesus' end game is love. People know that we follow Jesus by our love for one another and letting God love us as well as letting God love through us. And so doing good and not always measuring up to the conventional thinking or traditional or regular, you know, this is what's always been done or this, but let Jesus be fully and truly who Jesus is. Even when we don't understand it, even when we disagree, and even when he does things that seem like unconventional, like going into the temple. Well, who does that? Like one side of this is a party, like in the morning, in the afternoon, like it's an upheaval. So it's just this whole upheaval of expectations. And sometimes I think Jesus upsets the apple cart for us. He doesn't always do what we anticipate, expect. And there are times you might have prayed and said, Jesus, please do X, Y, and Z. And I've done this before where I've prayed, do X, Y, and Z, and the opposite happened. And it was hard for me. I was cranky, not happy with Jesus, and I was like, hey, take my toys and go home and play by myself. But at the end of the day, let's let Jesus be wholly and fully, truly who Jesus is. Whether it's Palm Sunday with a massive celebration, or whether it's Palm Sunday with him going into the temple and overthrowing all the tables and chasing out the money changers. Let's let Jesus wholly and truly, fully be who he is. And so here's a question I want you to answer in the comments right here. How do you navigate when Jesus doesn't do what you want or expect? right? Fill that in the comments right there. So thank you for subscribing, and of course hit the notification bell right there. We'll keep you posted when we put up new content, and next week we're going to continue this series on Easter in the Middle.